Welcome to episode 71 of Drew's Sports Crew. Here on this Monday morning, myself, Drew Skyberg, joined alongside Louis Bocanegra. And we're going to be talking about the MLB midseason. We're going to do a recap here on the podcast. Louis, how are you doing today?
Doing great, my friend. Thank you for having me back.
Of course, we did our MLB season preview, and we'll be talking about that. We'll be going through. How were we right on some of the things we said? We'll talk about it here. We're going to go through the standings. We're going to go through stats. We'll give out some awards right, and we'll be just talking baseball. We're going to give our home run derby picks. We'll give our all-star game picks, all that good stuff here on the show. But let's get started here right away, Louis. Let's go to the standings. Let's go team by team. We'll do it how we did it in our preseason one here. We'll start in the AL East, and look, this was the division I think we nailed. I mean, especially I know you being a Yankees fan, right? We talked a lot about this division, and wow, I mean, the New York Yankees are right now setting records as a team, 63-28, plus 188 run differential. Louis, what have you seen out of the Yankees, maybe that people did not see at the start of the year? What have they done?
Well, the defense has been otherworldly. I feel like that's what people are failing to really talk about, including people I know. The pitching is there. People like to, crap on it for whatever reason, but it's always been there. It's going out and above this year, especially because everything's kind of falling into place with health, aside from Severino being shut down recently for a couple of weeks. But they don't make any mistakes, man. They're way more aggressive on the base pass. So with a combination of stealing bases and the defense, they've kind of added just extra dimensions to the team, man. So it's not just a home run hitting team with strikeout pitchers. It's just way more depth to it, way more depth in general, aside from just the players they have on the 40 man. It's kind of taking them into another level.
Yeah, I mean, this Yankees squad defensively has been, arguably the best in baseball. When you look at runs or fielding runs above average, right, and other stats like that. I mean, they stand out and in all the stats. And yeah, they've been, like you said, I mean, this is the 2021 Yankees, but with an improved defense, right? And I mean, some other of role players are having bigger years, right? But this has been a very, very good Yankees team, and many have them as their World Series favorites, and rightfully so. I mean, deadline's coming up too. Who knows? I mean, we were talking before the year about Juan Soto. It'd be pretty nice to have him as a Yankee, and we'll just have to wait and see. But let's go to the Tampa Bay Rays, who are sitting right now at 50-41, second in the AL East. And look, this Rays team is, they're doing Rays things. They have really, Wander Franco's been not playing at all this year. He's out right now with an injury as well. He's getting surgery. But, this Rays squad has been interesting. I mean, they've been kind of underwhelming for Rays standards, but it's, they've stayed in they've stayed in it, I guess is kind of how I'd explain it. And Tampa doing another Tampa Bay Ray year. Louis, what have you seen from the Rays so far?
Yeah, no, I looked up their lineup the other day, and I noticed they had way more injuries to I didn't even know Zunino was out. So Zunino, Lowe, you mentioned Franco, man, those are people they can't replace. They can replace pitchers because, they can find guys off the street at this point, it feels like, right? People to fill in, whatever, but they can't replace those key guys, and that's what's basically holding the team back, even though they're in the wild card contention.
Exactly, yeah. This Rays squad, it's Kevin Cash's team is still in it. And they've had Isaac Paredes, guys like that who they got for nothing from the Tigers. Right now he's at 13 home runs this year, and he's been kind of their lead source of power for a squad that does not hit a lot of home runs. Randy Rosarena, of course, has 11, but those are the only two right now from what I'm seeing with double-digit home runs. So
I forgot Margot's out too. He's on the 60-day DL.
Yeah, so that's the other one that hit. But Shane McClanahan's been the story. Well, you'll hear his name in the awards part of the episode, I'm sure, right now. At least he's my Cy Young favorite in the AL. He's been doing things that, right now his ERA plus is 2.11. So that puts him significantly above average, considering 100 is average for that. And yeah.
I think he has less than 2 walks for 9 innings too. Yeah, he's a clear favorite at the moment.
Exactly. But my concern, though, is are they going to shut him down at the end of the regular season? Do we know that? What do you think?
I don't think they skipped any of his starts, so I don't know. I think they're going to ride him until he starts wearing down.
At least, yeah. And
They
now
can't
with
even
it being
afford to shut him down.
with it being a 3-game wild card series now, not a 1-game. I mean, he's gonna pitch obviously a game in the series, but like with it being 3 games, it's there's so much more strategy in it for the wild card round, and plus the perk of being one of the top 2 division winners. Okay, here, let's go to the Blue Jays of Toronto. Let's talk about this team. 50-43. Charlie Montoyo is fired. He is out of office right now. And yeah, I mean, this Blue Jays squad, very underwhelming. Alejandro Kirk, we gotta talk about him. I believe his OBP right now is just around 400. So I mean, Vladimir Guerrero Jr. has been struggling, but he's picked it up, I guess, as of late. But like Jose Barrios, I mean, the pitching that many people were fond of to start the year hasn't really been there, other than guys like Manoah and Romano, right? I mean, what have you seen, right? Being in the AL East here, Lewis, Toronto Blue Jays have really, fallen short of a lot of people's expectations. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, we talked about it when we did the season preview. I didn't think this team had as much pitching as other people thought. It was clear to me. I don't know why it wasn't clear to anybody else besides us, but it's that assumption is proven to be real. And their pitching isn't as bad as I thought it was when I looked at the numbers, but they just don't have the depth. Like I think they called up some guy called Hatch to fill in and gave up like 10 runs or something. Like just you have to deal with injuries nowadays when it comes to your pitchers, and just some of these teams they I don't know. I guess they think they're going to go the whole year without having any injuries, or they're too lazy to go out of their way to acquire depth. But you need to do that, especially nowadays in this era of baseball, especially where people go down like flies if you're a pitcher.
Yeah, I'm right with you. Guys who were talked about having like Trevor Richards. I mean, there's guys in this bullpen who are, David Phelps, just guys who have done okay, but not exactly those guys who are going to put you over the top. Ross Stripling, who's in my opinion, he has pitched way over his head right now. His FIP right now is at 3.08, and his ERA is at 3.03. I don't see Stripling keeping that up for this squad. For in the year, and he's at 74 innings already as well. But Gosman's still been great. I know the numbers. His ERA right now is 2.87, FIP 1.84. I think Manoah, Gausman, those two guys have been doing great, but Barrios, he's been struggling. I mean, the Brewers faced him, right? And the Brewers took care of him. Brewers were hitting home runs off him left and right. And I mean, a lot of teams actually have this year against Barrios, but Romano, we talked about, all-star, has been doing great. And let's go to the next team here, the Boston Red Sox, 48-44 at the time. Keep in mind, full disclosure, we're recording here Sunday afternoon, so these records might not all be final, but Boston Red Sox, 48-44. They have been already really streaky to start the year, right? Trevor Story was batting like 400 in a stretch or whatever, and the team was hot, and they've really cooled off. I mean, Devers has still been great, but what are your thoughts here, Lewis, on the Boston Red Sox so far?
Yeah, it's a classic case of hot and cold. And I know after their last hot streak, people thought, okay, this is it. The team's going to come together. Red Sox Nation is back. And I pretty much thought, like, no, their pitching's pretty stinky. So, it's all about that. And they've had more injuries than people would care to admit as well, from what I've noticed looking at the 40, man. So it's the same thing kind of like with the Blue Jays. When you get hurt and you're calling up essentially quadruple A guys or guys that shouldn't be in the majors, you're going to have these cold streaks because you're not able to withstand a lot of these just regular injuries nowadays when it comes to pitching staffs. Their offense is great. They don't have a lot of powers that I noticed. So a lot of those guys are hitting for high averages like Bogarts or Martinez, they're not even past 10 home runs besides Devers. So they're lacking power. They're lacking consistent pitching. I mean, they're losing right now to the Yankees 11-2. They're on their way to 48 and 45. You mentioned 40 and 44. So I think it's just going to be a nonstop roller coaster season for them, where they most likely don't make the wild card if I had to, put a wager on.
I'm with you. I think the Mariners might take the spot over them right now with how it's been going. This rotation. I mean, Chris Sale, very unfortunate during Sunday's game. Unfortunate injury, but like the people they're throwing out there right now, Eovaldi and Pivetta have pitched way over their heads, it seems, this year. And I mean, Garrett Whitlock, who's been injured, coming back, he's solid. I like him. But they're still pitching Rich Hill. which is something. But Tanner Houck was the guy who I mentioned at the start of the year is my favorite guy, and they put him in the closer role, and he's thrived there. He's done very well, and he's kind of a bright spot in that bullpen too. I mean, some of the other guys who have done well, but like Diekman's still pitching well, but there are some concerns, or even a good chunk of concerns here for this Red Sox squad. We'll go through the postseason stuff too. We'll talk about who we think is going to finish in the postseason, all of our prediction stuff later. So last team here, the biggest surprise in all of baseball, the Baltimore Orioles are 46-45, soon to be 46-46. But look, I mean, this squad finishing in their first 92 games, 500. Nobody expected that. And, Brandon Hyde's squad, you got to give credit to a lot of guys, but Lewis, who would you give credit to most here for this squad?
That GM has done a nice job of acquiring these, kind of no-name pitchers, and they've really turned into a really solid bullpen, above average, even when you look at it from top to bottom. Starting pitching is okay, but definitely the GM and the manager. At 45, would you say 45, 45, 46, 46?
46, yeah.
Right. This team was a walking joke coming into the season. So the fact that they're anywhere near 500, that's a great accomplishment, I'd say.
Yeah, I'm right with you. This squad, right now they're 3 games out of the last wild card spot at this time, and the MLB draft is Sunday night, and they're drafting first overall then too. Keep in mind the team that's only 3 games out. They have Grayson Rodriguez. Talk about prospects coming they have coming up. I mean, they have a solid class of prospects. They have a top 5 system in all baseball. And look, I mean, this future is looking really great right now in Baltimore. So, I mean, the AL East will go through. Like I said, we'll go through the playoff stuff after. But want to spend more time in that division, as yourself being a Yankees fan. We'll spend more time in the NL Central as well with myself. Brewer fans here listening to the show, but let's go to the AL Central here for it. The division leaders here, the Minnesota Twins, 50-43. The Cleveland Guardians, 46-44 in second place. The Chicago White Sox, 45-46. The Detroit Tigers, 37-55. And then the Kansas City Royals, 36-56. And Lewis, to break down this division in a whole, I know your bold take was Detroit winning this division, and sadly, I mean, that does not look like it's going to happen. That offense has been horrendous. I mean, AJ Hinch pitched in a game, 3 different position players, and they had a team meeting after that game, was a story in the first half. But look, the Detroit Tigers have struggled as a team. Chicago White Sox as well. I mean, who is your biggest disappointment so far in this division? Is it the White Sox?
I picked the Tigers, but yeah, definitely the White Sox from a talent standpoint. And I know they're only a couple of games back, I think, from the wild card, but that should be a team that's easily 10 games over 500 with that talent.
Yeah, I mean, just looking at Tony La Russa has, he's managed his team into like the worst manager of the year. I mean, he's been horrendous. Walking players on 2 strike counts. I mean, it's stuff like I can't even believe I'm seeing in 2022. I get the whole analytical standpoint and stuff, but like this isn't analytics anymore at that point. That's just like that's madness. That is just
he's managing like a legit alcoholic from what I'm seeing.
Yeah, and it's
time to replace him.
Like I can't, the only reason he has not been replaced, right? Him and Jerry Reinsdorf, that's the owner of the White Sox, have a relationship. That's why they brought him back. He felt bad because he let him go in the 80s or whenever he went or he left the team, and right now he's just driving this team. He's driving this team downhill. Luis Robert is still, Luis Robert, and I mean they still have a solid team, but he's batting. Who is it? Lurie Garcia leadoff. I mean, he's batting guys who shouldn't be, batting in spots, and this team cannot hit righties whatsoever. I mean, this is one of the best left-handed hitting teams in baseball, but I mean, they don't have anyone to hit righties. Gavin Sheets got sent down. I mean, it's been a struggling team, so to say the least. The Minnesota Twins, however, many picked to win the division to start because, they made all those splashes, and Twins have looked great, 50-43. I mean, both Centrals are really bad divisions, basically, which when we get to the NL Central, you'll see why. But I mean, they're beating up on the bottom feeders here. This Twins team still concerns me. I think the Cleveland Guardians will win this division, and they're only 2.5 out. which might be one of my bold takes. I know pitching might not exactly be there, but like I really like that offense, and which might be also another unpopular take, but I think the Guardians will come through with this division at 46-44, 2.5 out. But Lewis, do you think that this is the Twins division to lose?
I might agree with you because I don't like the Twins pitching at all. And it's funny you mentioned the signings. Not any of them have had a major impact. I think Correa's got a 2-point-something WAR, but he basically has a similar batting average to Kiner Falefa, and his actual runs total differential, whatever, on defense is worse. So yeah, they're not getting their bang for the buck that they paid for him. Urshela's gotten even worse at third, and Gary Sanchez has done nothing. So, from that standpoint, I'm wondering what they did besides waste money. But like Arraez, a couple other players are having some nice years for them, so it's keeping them afloat. Basically, because what you just said, the division's so bad, so they're just not playing the crappiness of the other teams. But I do like the Indians, man, because I think they have an underrated offense. Like you said, they have a potentially nice lineup. They can get hot with Fran Mill, got Josh Naylor, obviously got Jose Ramirez. With that combination with pitching, an underrated bullpen with Class A as a closer, they might be just the most complete team in that division now that I think about it. I think I've given up on the White Sox, to be honest.
I have too. Just with how Cal Quantrill's been on fire with quality start after quality start. He's been giving you, and he's your number 3 guy, right? I know Plesac isn't necessarily what you wanted, but I mean, he was horrendous the past few years, and you'll take a 4 ERA from a guy like Zach Plesac. But McKenzie and Bieber's looked a lot better. There's some concerns with his velocity being way down, but yeah, I mean, you mentioned complete team. I would describe them as complete. I love Josh Naylor. He's got to be like the ultimate hype guy in baseball. He's been awesome. Andres Jimenez too. I mean, pair him like an infield duo there, him and Rosario. Because Rosario's been very underrated so far this year. I mean, he hasn't been looked at a lot by many. He's batting 291 right now. And what is that? His OPS is at 730. He's been respectable. And that's kind of what you would like out of your shortstop. But yeah, Jose Ramirez, I mean, he's the star of the show there. He's already at 75 RBIs. Keep in mind, 130 is definitely in the realm of possibilities. But yeah, complete is how I would describe this squad. And I like them as the 3rd division winner, so they would be in a wild card round, in my opinion. But let's keep going. That'll wrap up our AL Central talk because, again, Tigers, Royals, struggling. Some promise of some young guys, but that's that. AL West, let's go. Houston Astros are at the top right now, 59-31. They are 10 games up over the second place Seattle Mariners. Yes, the Mariners are in second with a 13-game winning streak, 50-42. Texas Rangers, 41-48. The Los Angeles Angels are 21 back of the division, and they are 39-53. And the Oakland Athletics, 31-61. So this division has been something. Angels start out hot, lose a bunch of games, get out of the playoff hunt basically with that one losing streak. And yeah, I mean, the Rangers are the other story, making those big splashes, not really living up to expectations. I mean, for some people who set the high expectations, but I think my story right now of the division is the Seattle Mariners. We knew the Astros were still going to do Astros things, but Lewis, I mean, what's your headliner right now in the AL West?
Definitely the Mariners. I just saw the graphic before they had the commercial in the Yankee game. They're 21-3. Their last 24 games. That's and they're still 10 games back, but I feel like that's just something I really don't hear enough people talking about. They turned around their entire season essentially.
Yeah, I mean, in credit, guys like Julio Rodriguez has been on fire. Ty France comes back from an injury. Robbie Ray, the story with him, he was horrible his first 2 months. Starts throwing a sinker, and now his numbers are instantly back up to the Cy Young numbers. It was kind of a remarkable development there with Seattle, and I mean, they've just been respectable. I mean, they just have had guys around. Jesse Winker comes back from the suspension, hitting home runs left and right. This team's playing insane. Remember, they almost played themselves into the playoffs last year. Won 90+ games, did not make the playoffs, but it's safe to say, I think, that they'll be at least in the hunt the rest of the year for that 3rd wild card spot. But talk about disappointments of the division. That's how we'll roll. We'll talk about the Angels here. 39-53. Shohei Ohtani is performing, he's doing everything. I mean, the games they've won, which is, it's kind of, at this point, it's kind of funny just looking through the box scores. He's the one, he's pitching, 6-7 shutout, 12 Ks, drives in 2 RBIs, the Angels win. Or they lose. It's just, it doesn't matter with that team, but The Los Angeles Angels, Lewis, have been horrible.
They fired Joe Madden to get worse. I mean, I thought they fired him too early. The team wasn't that good to begin with. They decided to make him the scapegoat, and look, they're playing even worse. So they get what they deserve, man. It's the same thing every year. That guy spends money. They have no depth. They end up losing, and he acts like it's the biggest surprise in the world. So we're just having the same thing again happen this year. So until they end up developing pitchers, doing things the right way, and not just throwing money at people, things are going to pretty much stay the same for the foreseeable future, I feel like.
Yeah, I mean, even let's go a decade ago. You sign Albert Pujols to a monster extent signing. You sign Josh Hamilton. You throw money at guys. They did this a decade ago. And look where it's gotten them. 2014 is it. And they were first round exits. I mean, like it is impressive how these teams, how they're performing and yet still are just not winning games. I mean, the signings and the moves that they're making. Taylor Ward, was playing. And he still has an OPS plus at 146. So, I mean, he's still having a very good year. But, like, their top three guys, I mean, they have one of the best top threes. I saw this on other podcast they're talking about. Trout, Ward, and Ohtani are as the top three hitters, and then the rest of the lineup you'll take. They have the highest, like, OPS. It's the best top three and the worst lineup ever, if that makes sense, because based on OPS plus and other stats. It's remarkable how good they've been, but how terrible the bottom six lineup has been. So,
are they still playing Velasquez every day?
And yeah, I mean,
yeah,
he has 238 plate appearances. He is batting 171 with an OPS of 478. Yeah, they use OPS.
He's the infield Gallo without power, basically.
Yeah, and he had that one big game, whatever, last year that gave him all the hype. Wasn't that kind of it? I guess I'm not sure what they see there with Velasquez, but I mean, they have nobody else. I mean, that's how bad this team is. Like, there are minor leaguers who would start, I think, on the Los Angeles Angels infield. I mean, it's been that bad. Jared Walsh can't hit lefties. He's been 236. His OPS 692. I mean, these were guys who they were hyping up as Jared Walsh was going to be. Like, I mean, he was like an all-star last year, maybe, but I mean, these are guys. Max Stassi, right? I mean, they've been abysmal offensively.
See, that's their problem. They'll go out of the way to convince themselves they don't need to go the extra mile, and that's always going to bite you in the butt in the sport, man. You need as much depth, and basically just in case, breaking case of emergency glass type, depth, basically, just in case a guy doesn't come out, maybe he's not as good as you think he is. And now you just mentioned he's a platoon player, basically. I know they're talking about him like he was the next coming.
Yes,
like another regular everyday player. He's clearly not. He can only hit righties, so they didn't prepare at all for the worst case scenario.
Like, I mean, some of those guys they're starting, and don't even get me started about the rotation, other than Ohtani and Sandoval, who have been, pleasant. They've been surprises, not really surprises, but they've been nice to the rotation there. Syndergaard, Lorenzen, Detmers, who has been okay, but like Jose Suarez is the other guy who's filled in. Like this rotation is not good. I mean, it's very top heavy, and from there, I mean, it's there's no depth there. Like you've mentioned, it is not good. I am done talking about the Angels here.
I was going to mention one more thing. Loop isn't having a good year either. That's another big free agent signing, I guess, for a reliever.
Yeah, this front office, I mean, they blew it. Ohtani is not going to want to re-sign. I mean, they're going to have to trade him in the offseason. That's my opinion, and I know it might be unpopular, but what do you do with Ohtani? I guess.
I know he doesn't want to go to the East Coast, so I don't know if he has a clause or anything, because I know it wasn't a big contract, but you can't send him at the same time to a place he doesn't want to play for either.
Yeah,
he wants to stay close to, I guess, Japan as close as he can.
But you can't let him walk for nothing, though. At the end of the day, which it's a tough argument, and it's a tough. If the Angels won, it'd be so much easier. I mean, if they were winning games, this wouldn't be a discussion. But now it is, and the Astros are just doing Astro things. We'll move on here because we'll talk about Alvarez later. But NL East, here we go. We're in the National League now. The New York Mets, 58-34. Buck Showalter has turned that team around. Atlanta Braves, 56-37, 2.5 back there of the Mets. The Phillies, 48-43. The Miami Marlins, 43-47, and the Washington Nationals, 30-63. That rounds out the division. Nationals currently on a 9-game losing streak, so that's kind of where Juan Soto, right? Big story is him rejecting that 15-year, $440 million extension, or what it was. It was something ridiculous. But let's go to the New York Mets, though. Let's talk about it because I think they're like a pleasant surprise. I mean, they had the expectations, so it's not really a surprise, but they're actually winning games. And, the Mets, Lewis, what has gone right for them so far? What has gotten them to this run?
Well, they got a manager that finally knows what he's doing. And I think I picked them as one of the wild card teams, but yeah, I still had them in contention. Either way, I basically had them or the Braves winning the division. I think I picked the Braves, but they've done this without Scherzer for I think a month or two. DeGrom's still not healthy. He's over there, spending his vacation days in the minors, and he's definitely the manager of the year, man. Like, in my opinion, that's a clear. He's just overachieving with that team.
Yeah, let's talk.
Really is.
We'll talk about win the awards. He's my front runner as well. The Atlanta Braves are, they had the hot June and they're not slowing down. I mean, they've had guys come up. Michael Harris, was playing himself in the Rookie of the Year. Spencer Strider is also playing himself into the Rookie of the Year. This team's has had young guys come up and make huge impacts for the squad. The Phillies firing Joe Girardi was the story, and they've played better since they fired him, but 48-43. I mean, they're half game out of the wild card. They're right there. I mean, they could certainly make the move. They might make a move at the deadline though to bolster that team. Harper is a concern too. He might get shut down though if this team. There's just a lot of questions with the Phillies. I don't know what to expect, but the Marlins I want to talk about though. They have all this pitching depth, right? Max Meyer comes up, Edward Cabrera, all these stars. They have another one, Yuri Perez in the making, and then they have the guys who are ready. I mean, Pablo Lopez, of course, Sandy Alcantara, got to mention him. And this team's 43-47. I mean, they might have one of the best pitching, like all-around pitch rotations in baseball. And what happened is, the offense is just terrible. It's remarkable. I guess, Lewis, what have you seen from this Marlins squad?
I haven't seen them too much, but yeah, I guess what you were saying, they basically can't hit their way out of a paper bag. Like zero type of offensive capabilities. So when your pitching's not good and you're 4 games under, 500, your offense has got to be probably, they're probably like top 3 last or something, right? If not the top worst offensive team.
Yeah, it's just a common theme with this squad, and they just can't put together. They can't put runs on the board, and that's why whenever Sandy Alcantara pitches, he'll go 8 innings, give up 2 runs, and he'll get the loss. I mean, it's that remarkable. That's how bad this team's been offensively. And I mean, guys like Garrett Cooper and are your best hitters. And Soler's been out, Jazz Chisholm, Avisail Garcia. I mean, it's an interesting squad. Let's go to the NL Central, my division here. The Milwaukee Brewers sitting on top of the Central, 50-42. Yeah, yikes. I know. Only 8 games over and being in first in your division. 50-44. The St. Louis Cardinals, they played worse even. And, they were a game back. The Pirates then of Pittsburgh, 38-54. They're in 3rd place.
Wow, you weren't kidding. It's just a mirror of the AL Central.
Yes. The Cubs, 34-57. Reds, 34-57 for the toilet bowl there. The Cubs have lost 9 straight, so the Cubs are doing their best to tank. And the Reds are competing by trying to tank even more. So we have kind of like a tank-off. Teams are trying to compete to be the worst for the lower draft pick. It's remarkable. Yeah. Going to the Brewers, my midseason recap is hit the ball. The offense has been terrible, and it's, many fans will agree with that, with my assessment, just saying it's literally just straight up has not been good. The power's been there, right? They've hit a bunch of home runs, but the Brewers, I mean, I know we're not doing stats of the week this week, but I had a stat regarding the Brewers that I'll share in a sec. But the story is with this Brewers squad, and it's not being able to put the ball in play. I mean, they've been striking out a bunch average-wise. Mike Brosseau is their best hitter based on batting average. So 287 is the best average there. And like for starting players, like 241, 227, 226, 216, 251, Jace Peterson and Andrew McCutchen have the best for like guys who have like played almost every day. Think about that. And
I was going to ask you how Willie Adames is doing.
Willie Adames, like power's there, 18 home runs, 50 RBIs, 216 average.
Wow, so he fell off after you guys got him. Remember, he was hot when you guys traded for him.
Yeah, he's 84 strikeouts as well already. Christian Yelich, he's been 248. He's still his OPS plus since he's been the leadoff spot has been doing a lot better. But Lewis, with the Brewers, how do you think this team's going to turn around the second half? Is it just as simple as offense? I know we were talking about Josh Hader at the start too. He's been terrible as of late.
Yeah, you might have to look into getting another reliever if you don't have any internal options. But I figure 1 or 2 hitters with your pitching, that's all you would need to get a second half little hot streak going and just pull away with the division.
Yeah, I think it should be as simple as that. Here's this Brewers stat, by the way. Brewers have had 17 at-bats this year with bases loaded and nobody out. And you want to hear how they've got those 17 at-bats have gone? 6 strikeouts, 1 scoreless double play, and 2 other scoreless. So basically, the Brewers have had 7 bases loaded, no outs and no runs. So they've had the bases loaded 7 times with nobody out and no outs, and they've gotten no runs off of it 7 times this year already. Isn't that incredible?
Like, what are the odds of that? That's an incredible stat.
Like,
a mind-bending stat.
Like, they have just not been able to get it. Happened again, like with San Francisco against the Giants. Like, he just struck bases loaded, they get it loaded, and then Carlos Rodon strikes out the side. It was incredible. This team just can't hit with runners in scoring position, and that's kind of been. That's why this team is not doing better, because the rotation, which has been banged up, right? Hauser was on the IL a little bit, and he's right now. Woodruff was for a little while there, and then Burns has been kind of all reliable, 2.14 ERA. Peralta is coming back soon. Peralta has been on the 60-day IL. He will be ready, sounds like, early August. So Josh Hader struggles. Devin Williams he's doing okay. He's the future closer, it seems, of this Brewers squad. I hate to say it, but that's kind of what he's playing himself into right now.
I see y'all picked up Boxberger too. That was a good pickup.
Yeah, he's been steady. He's been reliable, as he has always been, it seems. But Pirates, not much to talk about there. Cubs, right? Reds. The Cardinals, Goldschmidt's right now playing himself in the NL MVP right now, which we'll talk about in the awards. But yeah, St. Louis Cardinals, I think this is still the Brewers division to lose. I think they still, unless they go on some historic losing streak or they just play really bad, poorly. I don't see this Cardinals team going on a run. I know they have young pieces, but they've just struggled. They're so focused on Albert Pujols, giving him this farewell. They're playing him in at bats that he shouldn't be playing in. I think this might cost them. This could cost them a playoff chance here, just based on how they've been using him. He should be on the roster. Based on his numbers, but that's just how it is. Remember an old time great. And let's go to the NL West here, Lewis, last division before we go into our awards. And the Dodgers 60-30. They're not disappointing anyone. They've been hot. The Padres of San Diego 52-41. The Giants 47-43. The Rockies 43-49. And then the Diamondbacks 39-52. Biggest surprise here, the Padres without Fernando Tatis Jr. 52-41. They are in the wild card, and they've done very well without him. Manny Machado was, an MVP favorite in a little bit there. And Lewis, for you, what was your takeaway in the NL West so far?
Yeah, there was a point. Remember, the Padres are only a game out. So, unless they end up winning the rest of the season series, that division is probably out for them. Dodgers, yep. I got to say, I don't like the manager. I think I've told you this a couple of times, but they've done great, man. I looked at their numbers up and down. They don't even have a closer. They're still, what would you say, they're over 60 wins. So, yeah, great, incredible
60,
job.
30. Yeah, they've been great. And, right now they're like the NL favorites. The Dodger-Yankee World Series it seems to be a favorite a lot, and that stays true this year. Let's talk about the playoff hunt here now. So, in the AL, of course, the Yankees being the 1 seed, Astros the 2, and then the Twins would be the 3. So how it works is the 1 and the 2 seeds get a bye from the wild cards, the Yankees and Houston, and then Minnesota would play the 6. So Minnesota and Toronto would square off in a 3-game series. Then Tampa Bay and Seattle would, as of right now. And the Red Sox are a game and a half out, so they're missing out Guardians 2.5, Baltimore 3, White Sox 4, and then Texas is at 7 games out. The Dodgers are on top. They're the one right now in the NL with the Mets at 2, Milwaukee at 3. So Milwaukee in a wild card round against St. Louis, the Cardinals. So the Brewers and Cardinals will be a 3-game series. The Braves and the Padres would also be in a 3-game series then. So, I mean, is there any enticing playoff matchups? Which one is your favorite out of those I've mentioned?
From a rivalry standpoint, not any, but I would say Braves and the Padres would be a pretty good series if that happens.
Yeah, I'm with you. I'm looking, in the AL, if we get to it, if we see a Yankee Astro ALCS, I think that would be awesome. What do you think?
Yeah, it'd be dynamite. And if Boone messes it up again, then I'm gonna go crazy and I'm gonna wonder why he's still the manager the next year. So we'll see how that goes. Jeez, man.
Yeah, that would. I just feel like both watching those teams play like a World Series, or not World Series, but like playing a regular season, series. Too bad it couldn't be a World Series because, those games were incredible. I mean, just they were great games, and I know there was a no-hitter in there. I know there was, but I just think the Yankees Astros that'd be a great matchup, and that's what I'm rooting for in the ALCS. Now let's go to the awards here, Lewis, and yeah, we'll start in the AL, and we'll go right away. We'll get the hard one out of the way. The AL MVP is a really hard one. It's tough because Shohei Ohtani, right, is doing things that we haven't seen, before. He did it last year, right? But he's been arguably doing, just that this year, and his pitching, he's looked even better. But right, the team's 39-53, and we have to value winning to some aspect with the MVP. It's only fair, right? So, Aaron Judge comes to mind then, right, as being the other guy. Jordan Alvarez being the other one. So, out of those three, Lewis, who are you going with for your MVP?
Well, what you mentioned, it's in the context of winning, and I'm thinking of all around with offense, defense. It's clearly Judge. Clearly, man. I just looked at his center field stats too. He's even playing a couple of runs above average in center field, so that would be the guy if they were going to pick fairly. Yeah,
I'm right with you, and I really think like what can Judge do better? Like Judge doesn't pitch. I don't know what you can be asking for Judge and just his offensive WAR. He's a more valuable offensive player than Ohtani.
Maybe he can be the manager for a couple of weeks. I don't know.
Doesn't he be manager? His team's worried about playing, for a first round, or playing basically for a bye. That's now how the new playoffs is, and they're worried about winning it all. And right now, the Los Angeles Angels, they're worried about where they're going to be drafting next year. It's as simple as that. They're not worried about the playoffs. They're not going to make the playoffs, and they have two of the best players in the world, and they're not going to make the playoffs, which I think is ridiculous. I know we've talked about the Angels, but that's where for me it's like, okay, well, I think Jordan Alvarez, if he played defensively, he was not DHing, and I hate to be like, okay, well, he's the DH, he doesn't get the award. I think he would have a very compelling case. I think the Hank Aaron Award is his. I think he'll win the Hank Aaron Award. I think Judge will win MVP is how I think it'll go.
Why don't they play him more in the outfield? Because I'm looking at Alvarez's stats right now. He's above 3. His defensive runs are 3. His run total for the year is 11. So why don't they play him in the outfield more? He doesn't seem like he's actually below average as I thought.
No, and he's actually made he's had some highlight reels defensive plays. He's gotten out some guys on sack fly attempts. There's been value with him, and the reason I think is they're trying to workload wise. I think they're trying to keep having focus with hitting. Is my thought, and because look at what he's done hitting, his xWOBA and all of his other baseball savant stats are 100th percentile or 99th percentile. This is incredible. So, I think that's why. But look, Alvarez, a 25-year-old stud, he's gonna be. He's doing great things right now, and I think he should deserve some sort of recognition. I just sadly don't think he will be winning the MVP.
Yeah, maybe he should demand to play more games because he leads the league in slugging, OPS, and OPS plus. He would be the MVP or the leading guy, you would think, if he just played more games defensively. He's only played 33 games in left field.
Exactly. No, I'm right with you. I would agree, but maybe he's content with DHing. Not sure. Next, we'll go to Cy Young here. Like we said, Shane McClanahan. To go to challengers, right? We'll throw Garrett Cole in there.
Dylan Cease is having a good year.
Cease, but again, yeah. Justin Verlander too. I mean, I'll throw him in. But yeah, Dylan Cease, who was snubbed off the All-Star team to start. That was incredible. I still could not believe that.
Yeah, it's like they forget about players. I don't understand that.
The Carlos Rodon, the NL, was leading in all NL pitchers in WAR, and he got excluded off of it, and he made it as a replacement, thankfully. But it was incredible. McClanahan, right? Still though, with him being the obvious pick, leading the AL and ERA and WHIP, and opponents are batting 176 off him. I think it's fairly easy choice here. Stud, and that's who it is. Manager of the year in the AL. Lewis, who would you give it to?
Man, if the Orioles finish 500, I'm giving it to Brandon Hyde.
I'm with you. You might be surprised, but the media, a lot of people are picking Aaron Boone. I don't know what your thoughts are on that.
Look, that 2 years ago, no, I think it was 19 where that Yankee team had the most players in the DL in the history of baseball. He didn't get the award. So why is he going to get? This is my problem with the media, man. They're idiots when it comes to picking things correctly. So why should he be the manager this year versus the year where he won over 100 games where they had the most players in the DL? What's the difference this year? It's just because there's more media attention, basically?
Yeah, I'm not. I think it's basically at the end of the day because of the historic pace. I mean, and yeah, media. The media attention has been there with Judge, right? I think that it's like, oh, it's the best team in baseball, so the best team in baseball's manager gets manager of the year. I don't know. I'm not a big fan. Obviously Aaron Boone being manager, right? But like, I'm not a huge fan of Boone. I know pitching, like how he's used pitchers. I mean, I've necessarily been as critical as of late, but like just situation right now with Chapman, Holmes, and King, I feel like there's different ways to go about it, but yeah, I'm with Brandon Hyde.
I don't think he should be manager of the year. I just don't think he's that good of a manager. But
I mean, but his team's winning games, and if you value that, which it's sad to say media does, I think Brandon Hyde. I like Scott Service, and that might be a crazy take. I know a lot of people, are not fans of Scott Service, but look what he's done, with that Mariners squad. I mean, he had an excellent year with the team last year, and even better on pace this year. They're going to break potentially a playoff run. I think Scott Service is a guy who could potentially sneak into this award and win it at the end of the year. That's where I'd go.
If he gets 20 wins in a row or something, then I mean, these are the guys you got to consider. It's not these guys with the great teams. It's the guys that are doing with they're doing what they shouldn't do with what they don't have. I guess if I'm making any sense. Like they're ridiculously overachieving. How are the Orioles 500? How are the Mariners in the 10-game winning streak? Like they're looking at the wrong places in terms of who should be the manager of the year. I feel like.
Exactly. I'm right with you. AL Rookie of the Year. This one's easy. Julio Rodriguez. I mean, he's been doing incredible things. He's going to be in the home run derby. But yeah, 16 home runs, 52 runs scored, 50 RBIs, 21 steals.
Nice.
So yeah, talk about numbers there.
All-around player right there.
Yeah, I mean, Bobby Witt also has been incredible too. I know he's been average is a little low, but 13 home runs, 48 runs scored, 46 RBIs, 17 steals. Both of them are going to be studs. Let's go then to the NL. That'll wrap up our AL awards. NL MVP right now. Paul Goldschmidt for the St. Louis Cardinals. It's kind of like the Bryce Harper MVP award last year. Team was a little above 500, not doing that well. They're going to sneak into the playoffs this year probably, but still, I mean, he's been the best player in the NL on a winning team at this point. His average 329 OBP, 414, slugging 584.
Jeez, yeah. I'm looking at this. He leads the league in runs scored, average, OBP, slugging, OPS, and OPS plus.
He's been on otherworldly, I guess is the story. And I know like Soto, unfortunately playing for a losing team and didn't play well to start the year, but right now he's been batting 393, or he's been almost around 400 here in the last 18 games or 20 games or so, but he's not my other favorite. I don't know. I just feel like it's Goldschmidt's award to lose at this point. I know people have thrown Pete Alonso in there just because, Pete Alonso's been hitting home runs, driving runs on the Mets, but like from there, I guess there's not really any other guy that really stands out, right? I don't know. I just feel like Goldschmidt's going to be the MVP in the NL, and let's go to the Cy Young Award. I think this one's pretty easy here. Sandy Alcantara as well. Just an absolute workhorse. I mean, this is something we haven't seen in years. A pitcher pitching as much as he does. And look, Sandy Alcantara has been an absolute stud. I mean, have you seen some of his pitches here, Lewis? 101 mile per hour two-seamer, like in on the hands. Like I can't even make this stuff up.
Yeah. No, I'm looking at his numbers. He doesn't have as many strikeouts as you would think with a guy with that stuff, but I guess this game is all about weak contact and getting the low pitch count so he can pitch more innings, get deeper into games.
Yeah, his K per nine is actually, that's the one thing. He doesn't strike a lot of batters out, but he gets volume, and that's where his strikeouts come. I mean, they don't come with the whole swing and miss like the high K per nine. It's more of he'll strike out like a batter per inning, maybe like like two batters for every like 3 innings. It's a pace like that, and which many some people might not be fond of in a game where strikeouts for pitchers is very valuable, but his K percentage is 55th percentile, so he's still above average. It's just not exactly that high, but his chase rate is 91st percentile according to Statcast. So you would think it might be higher there, but yeah, this guy was in the Cardinals farm system, Lewis. I don't know if you remember that, but he was in it. Jazz Chisholm was in it. I mean, these were guys they gave up for Marcell Ozuna. So it's kind of crazy how that all comes back. They also gave up Zach Gallen, who's pitching around with the D-backs. So I don't even know. It is quite the story, and or I think they used Gallen to get Chisholm. Basically, the Marlins did, but basically they gave up guys. They gave up a lot of value in that trade, and Corbin Burns being the I'd say the other guy, and Max Scherzer as well are like my finals.
Yeah, if Scherzer was healthy, he would probably be the top 2 guy. But yeah, he's just missed time.
Exactly. Manager of the year, Buck Showalter for the Mets. I think this one might be a lock for me. I mean, I don't see any other unless the Mets collapse, which again, the Mets have collapsed before. Well, I think he's the guy. I guess I don't know who else is there. Dave Roberts doesn't deserve it. I mean, that team should have more than 60 wins, 60 and 30 with that roster, in my opinion. But Buck Showalter, I don't know what else we have to say. He's been great and looking.
I gotta be honest, man. I gotta give Roberts credit, bro. I mean, Bellinger's pretty much done. It seems like he's on his way out the MLB. Mookie Betts isn't having like a fantastic year. I feel like they're really overachieving with that team. They don't even have a closer or anything.
With the ACL tear of their closer, and Kimbrel's coming back on his way, but
Kimbrel's been terrible.
Yeah, but the Dodgers just as a team still have a nice starting lineup and still have the respectable guys, and I think they're gonna make some moves. Go ahead.
Like I'm over here thinking, like, how do they get to 60 wins? I mean, I'm gonna have to look at their offensive team as a total. But like Muncy's sitting under 200. Boots, I keep calling him Boots. Mookie Betts isn't having like a peak year. Friggin' Bellinger's finished. It's pretty much Freeman and Trey Turner, I guess, right?
Yeah, Freeman's been incredible. I mean, Betts is still batting 265 with 20 home runs. I mean, he's on pace for like 30 home runs, 90 RBIs. He's still doing Mookie Betts things. I think Tyler Anderson has pitched over. I mean, these guys, Gonsolin's 11-0 right now with a ERA of 2.02. So, the pitching, I guess if you want to make the argument, they're overachieving in that aspect. I do agree in that aspect where Gonsolin's not going to have a 2.02 ERA.
Anderson's the Pythagorean theorem, they have them actually that they should have one more wins. So I guess you're right if you're going by that. It says they should be at 63 and 27, not 60 and 30. Yeah,
if we go with that, I'm just not a fan with Dave Roberts with manager. I just feel like his players, Gonsolin's 11-0 with the 2.02 ERA. He has no influence on that. I feel, he's not telling him to pitch better to make him,
like, hey, you pitch better. Okay, Skip.
Yeah, his FIP right now is 3.39, so there's a 1.37 difference there. There's certainly regression is due for some of these starters, but yeah, let's go to the next award here. NL Rookie of the Year. Let's talk about this one. So I believe you had O'Neal Cruz to start the year, and I had which is fine, and I had Seiya Suzuki, and Suzuki missed a bunch of time, and O'Neal Cruz did get called up till late. So then the Atlanta Braves guys who we mentioned kind of stepped in. Michael Harris is kind of the guy who stepped in right away. 277 slash line, 310, 494, 8 home runs, 29 runs scored, 26 RBIs. So, the guys who are kind of competing with him there, it's like, it's him, Strider, I think, are like the front two, and both those two guys being teammates. We'll throw in Jack Sawinski with the Pirates, right? Christopher Morel. I mean, Mackenzie Gore was on a roll with the Padres until he had a rough stretch, but looking through it, I think it's Harris and Strider are the first two guys, but Harris is playing every day. Harris is doing things for a squad that is without Ozzie Albies right now. I'll give it to Michael Harris. He was kind of like a deadline pickup for a team that just called him up. What do you think?
Yeah, their farm system is so deep, you kind of forget they're able to have that ability to just reach down into their depth.
Yeah,
so I picked them to win in the beginning, but the Mets have fortunately avoided a lot of major injuries.
Exactly. And do you think, to wrap up here, I just saw you bring up the Mets. Do you think we'll see Francisco Alvarez later this year?
Yeah, I looked him up 2 days ago. I don't know why they wouldn't call him up. Why not? He can't be any worse than the production they're getting right now from their catchers.
Tomas Nido.
Yeah. McCann was terrible too when he was healthy. Like, what do you have to lose?
Yeah, no, I'm with you. I think you'll see him. I seriously think he'll be on. You'll see him pinch hit. You will see him. I think come postseason time. I think he has a chance. I think he will be on the roster. So that's where I'd go with him. And we got to go the home run derby here before we wrap up. But that's gonna wrap up the midseason stuff. So home run derby here we'll talk about briefly. So the field, there's 8 hitters here, Lewis, and I'll read them to you. You're going to tell me your winner for each round. Kyle Schwarber versus Albert Pujols, the 1 and the 8.
Take a Schwarber.
Yeah, there you go. Schwarber's a lock. I believe it's him and Judge basically for home runs right now. It's heated race there. Juan Soto or Jose Ramirez, the 4 and the 5. This is going to be a great matchup.
Might just sit down and actually watch it for once.
Juan Soto or Jose Ramirez? Who are you taking?
Gotta take Soto.
Awesome. I'm putting him in. Corey Seager or Julio Rodriguez?
I'm taking Julio.
Okay. Pete Alonso or Ronald Acuna Jr.?
Definitely taking Alonso. Acuna's had some power issues, I've noticed.
Yes, I do agree with you on that. Schwarber or Soto? Then.
Oh, yeah. I'll take... I think I'm going to take Schwarber to win it.
Schwarber to win. Okay.
Yeah.
Rodriguez versus Alonso.
You got to take Pete.
Oh, that's going to be a good one. Schwarber to win it is yours. So mine, I kind of went very bold here. You want to hear mine? So I go Schwarber winning. Of course, I go Schwarber and Soto. I have them matching up. And then I have Corey Seager, Pete Alonso. I have Corey Seager and Juan Soto in my finals. I think they're going to pull some upsets. I think Alonso's going to have a big first round and then wear himself out in the second. Because we've seen that he almost lost to Mancini last year in it. But I think it's going to be. I think Juan Soto is my home run derby champ. He's been on a power surge as of late. He just hit a home run today on Sunday again. So I got Juan Soto winning it against Corey Seager, who's also hit a lot of home runs. So that's my pick, and I'll have mine up on the Instagram, Drew Sports Crew, so you can go find it there. And yeah, that'll wrap it up here. But social media stuff, Facebook, Drew's Sports Crew as well. You'll find us there. And then, of course, YouTube with that, Drew Sports Crew. Lewis, where can they find you?
You can find me on Instagram, Bocanegra TV, Twitch, same, Bocanegra TV, and got a baseball channel on YouTube, which I haven't uploaded much on, but you can find me there at Bocanegra Baseball.
Go check it out. I mean, he has great content. He spends time analyzing, Yankees, some stuff, all baseball too. It's just, if you want in-depth Yankees analysis, go check him out. Yankees doing very well, and he looks at prospects as well. So that's something, you might not see from everyone. So, that'll wrap it up here though. So thank you all for listening to yet another episode of Drew's Sports Crew, the perfect podcast for you.